Word includes an auto-formatting feature that makes straight, boring quote marks and apostrophes into something fancy called smart quotes. In this video, I show you all the ins and outs of working with smart quotes so that you can make the most of them in your documents. If you've been using Microsoft software for any length of time, it doesn't take long before you realize that the company has a habit of creating their own terminology. The term smart quotes is one such case. This term has been around since the earliest days of Word, and honestly, there is nothing smart or intelligent about smart quotes. The phrase simply refers to a typographical convention that differentiates an opening quote mark from a closing quote mark. For instance, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit here, and we're going to take a look at these phrases that are on the screen. I'll enlarge this a little bit for you so that you can take a look at it closer. Here I have two phrases, and they're surrounded by quote marks. The words aren't important, but the quote marks are. In the first phrase, the quote marks are straight quote marks. Around the second phrase are what Microsoft refers to as smart quotes. Note that the opening quote mark looks different from the closing quote mark. These fancy quotes are used all the time in printed material, and they can make your text look more polished and professional. You should note that the appearance of the fancy quote marks will differ based on the font that you're using. This text is in a Calibri font. I'm going to copy the second line right here. Press Ctrl-C to copy it, and now I'm going to paste it right down here. And what I want to do is I want to take that second line, and I'm going to make it into Times New Roman. Now it's a different font, and you'll notice that the smart quotes appear different on this line than they did on the line that's formatted using a Calibri font. Despite the difference in appearance, they are still called smart quotes because the opening quote mark differs from the closing quote mark. It isn't just quote marks that can be fancy in this way. Here's an example of the same phrases with apostrophes added. Notice that in the second case and third case, the apostrophe is also curved. Word includes an auto-format option that changes normal quote marks to smart quotes as you type your document. This option is turned on by default, but sometimes you may want to check the setting or turn the option off. Let's take a look at how you can control the option. We need to start by clicking on the File tab of the ribbon, and then we're going to choose Options. That brings up the Word Options dialog box. At the left side of the screen, we're going to click on Proofing, and finally we're going to click on Autocorrect Options, this button right here. And when we do, we see the Autocorrect dialog box on the screen. You need to make sure that the Auto Format as you type tab is selected. The control that you want to pay attention to is this one right here. This controls the smart quotes feature in Word. If this option is enabled, in other words, there's a check mark there, then Word automatically changes straight quotes to smart quotes as you type. If it is turned off, meaning that there is no check mark in the box, then no changes are made in what you type. I'm going to leave this turned on for right now, and honestly, you'll probably want to leave it turned on in your system. I'll go ahead and click on OK and then close the Word Options dialog box as well. And we can continue using Word as normal. The ability to turn this feature on and off inevitably leads to the question of why you would want to do so. If you use Word to produce nothing but letters to Aunt Martha, memos to your coworkers, or reports for the boss, then you should probably leave the feature turned on. You might be using Word to create documents in which straight quotes are expected, however. For instance, a lot of scientific writing uses straight quotes, or you might be creating documents that include feet and inch marks like 27 feet or 9 inches, and these should never use smart quotes. In my writing, I very seldom use smart quotes. I typically leave the feature turned off completely. Why? because much of my work involves text that will later be typeset using a program such as InDesign. When text is imported into typesetting programs, those programs do their own conversion on apostrophes and quote marks, so it makes no sense to make them fancy in Word. Now, this isn't my way to try to convince you to turn off the Smart Quotes feature. You'll need to figure out what is best for your needs, and then make the adjustment. It is very possible that you might want to use both straight quotes and smart quotes in the same document. If most of your writing is appropriate for smart quotes, then I would turn the feature on and just start typing. When you come to some text where you need to have straight quote marks, then you can press Ctrl-Z immediately after Word makes the change to the quote mark. Let me show you an example. I'm going to hit the return key a couple of times here. And now I want to make this larger so that you can see exactly what Word does when it applies smart quotes. I'm going to go ahead and type some contrived text in here. And you can see that the smart quote appeared immediately upon me typing it. And the closing smart quote will appear right there. However, if I have some text that needs to be in straight quotes, like this one where I'm talking about 27 feet, notice that it put the curly, the fancy smart apostrophe in here, but I can undo that just by simply pressing Ctrl-Z at this point. And now notice that it's a straight quote. And I can finish typing, and if I don't want a smart quote there, again I press Ctrl-Z. And I have all of my text within here. And I have both smart quotes and straight quotes that are mixed on the same line. The fix in this case was to simply press Ctrl-Z to undo the auto format change. This works great if you want to use smart quotes most of the time and straight quotes only periodically. Your writing, however, may require you to do the opposite. Use straight quotes most of the time and smart quotes only periodically. In that case, you should turn off smart quotes auto formatting, like we did a few moments ago. And in those instances where you want to use smart quotes, you can go ahead and display the Insert tab of the ribbon. And then you're going to click on Symbol over here at the right-hand side. And now I'm going to choose More Symbols. And that gives me the Symbol dialog box. And I can choose Special Characters right here. And if I scroll down towards the bottom, it puts these choices right in the middle. Notice that we have a single opening quote, a single closing quote, a double opening quote, and a double closing quote. And there's also shortcut keys shown to the right side of those, which you can use in your writing if you want to. You can choose the characters from this list and then press Insert and close the dialog box, or you can go ahead and use the shortcut keys, whichever works best for your writing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please take a moment to click the subscribe button and the bell icon. That way YouTube will let you know when new videos are added to the WordTips channel. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today.